Recording. And go.
Okay, welcome back to the Intellectual Disabilities Podcast, where we celebrate inclusion and breaking down barriers. This is your host, Mackenzie Lampkins, and my other host.
Sarah Parker.
And I just want to tell you guys that today's episode is going to be a little bit different. This is our final episode for the series. And instead of interviewing the guests, we're going to talk about what we've learned, what we found most interesting, and, have the conversations that change the way we see intellectual disabilities and inclusion.
To start
This is
things
going to
off,
be, I'm sorry, girl, but this is going to be a reflection episode and a big thank you episode, all rolled into one.
we're going to recap our global goal. Our global goal is from the 17 UN global goals for sustainability that was proposed by United Nations that the projects they want to reach by 2030. The goal we are focusing on is global goal number 10, which is reducing inequalities. In particular, we are focusing on target 10.2. By 2030, empower and promote the social, economic, and political inclusion of all, irrespective of age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion, or economic and/or other status. That is what the global goal says right on the United Nations website. And that's the goal we are focusing our podcast on. In particular, we are focusing on how it respects to people with intellectual disabilities. And intellectual disabilities can include several groups of people, including the Down syndrome community, the autistic community, and several other groups of people. And then there's also physical disabilities, which we don't really cover on the podcast, but they are equally as important. And physical disabilities are people with blindness, mobility issues, and hard of hearing, just to name a few. They are just as important as people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but due to time restraints, we decided to focus exclusively on intellectual disabilities.
Yep. Oh my God, that was a good summary. So Sarah, didn't we have really good guests this podcast? Like we had amazing
Yeah.
people.
Oh, yeah.
So just to recap, we had Dalton, which is a student athlete, or well, an athlete leader for Special Olympics Tampa. We also had Megan, which I know she is an amazing person. Sarah, do you want to just give a brief description about Megan?
Megan is the community engagement person for Area 5, which is the Tampa Bay area for Special Olympics Florida. So she does a lot with managing volunteers and helping run the athlete leadership program within the Tampa Bay area.
Yes, and then our last guest was my godmother, Delia Floyd. She is an educator and a mother with a child who has special needs. And her episode really made me see her in a different light. I mean, I always thought she was just an amazing woman, but she just gave so many insights to things that I didn't know. So, some of the big takeaways from her interview was early intervention and it matters. And getting kids into therapies and supportive classrooms and the right programs early really changes what's possible later. How did you feel about that segment of her podcast?
I agree with it. And in fact, while she was talking about it, it made me really think back to my childhood and seeing it from the perspective of a parent. Because when I was 4, I was in preschool for special needs kids when I was 3 and 4.
Hmm.
Then I moved on to mainstream kindergarten with an IEP. So I can really understand and relate that world. And yes, it does make a difference. And I was so thankful to be diagnosed when I was 3 and had supportive parents to provide me the support I needed.
Yes, she as like her point of view as a parent with a child with special needs, she just let me know that advocacy, it could be exhausting, but it's totally necessary. Like, parents with kids with intellectual disabilities are often like fighting battles that are like behind the scenes just to even get basic services or respectful treatment. And the most interesting thing I learned was her learning right alongside her son, like learning sign language, the systems, and how to speak up and policies. It reminded me that inclusion doesn't just mean putting someone in the classroom, it means giving families the tools and information they need to support their loved ones.
I found it amazing that she actually even studied the law and she was able to pull out according to law X, Y, and Z. That I
Mhm.
thought was very impactful because even I don't understand every single law that is available to myself. And just her studying every single law, that was insane.
Yes, like she really put it in perspective that parents shouldn't just take no for an answer or just take what people give them. Like do the research, study a little bit, and you can find out that some things are put in place to protect your child. You know, like my godbrother's growth is not just an accident. It's the result of like love and structure and resources over many years. So it might take some time, but it's all going to be worth it in the end.
Hmm.
So I'm going to talk about the lovely Megan. I really appreciate her taking her time out to come and speak with us. She gave me a lot of insight just about Special Olympics Florida, and she told me that it's not what people usually think. It's just an annual, event that only happens just once a year, but they have over 20 sports and there's things that happen every month. And I just thought that was really cool because that was a misconception that I had before I started this project. So she also gave insight about the health programs like Healthy Athletes, where doctors come and volunteer and they provide screenings and care that many athletes might not get otherwise. So I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I think this is very important for people to realize what services are available to them. Special Olympics Florida is an amazing organization and an organization that I am very proud to be a part of and to advocate for. The health programs are especially are important because not everyone has access to proper Medicare, and that should
Hmm.
be a right that everyone has access to the medical care that they need.
Yes,
Then
just her talking about volunteering as well and getting people from the community to come and spend their time to help out was amazing. And you're right, a lot of people don't have access to that type of health care. So it's amazing that the doctors take their time out to do, medical screenings for some of the athletes and, probably save lives because early detection is a blessing.
I know many people from Special Olympics, they get glasses, hearing aids, and other tools like that they may need.
Hmm. Sarah, I just wanted to talk about one line from the interview where she says that she defines inclusion as or she was, in her opinion, inclusion looks like no fear or no worry about stepping into spaces and trying new things or chasing their dreams. And the no fear part really touched me because I feel like inclusion isn't just about policies or, things like that. It's about feeling safe. And people have just feeling safe about, stepping into different spaces like school or a job and community and know that they belong. And that would just be the ultimate goal of this podcast of people not living in fear of being different or perceived of being different in society. So that was just really powerful for me. And I really appreciate her intake on that.
Yeah, I agree. That was a very powerful quote because people don't think about it. They oftentimes either use people with intellectual disabilities as a prop or just ignore we don't even exist instead of learning about what we can do and giving us a chance to showcase our abilities. So I 100% agree with it.
Yes. So we're going to talk a little bit about, just briefly about Dalton's interview. So I just want to get your take and what you found interesting.
What I found interesting with Dalton's is how, even though some organizations are marketed for people with disabilities, they can still be not inclusive. And
That's what
then
I got too. Yep.
the other biggest thing I got from Dalton's interview was how the workplace works sometimes for people with intellectual disabilities. How they might, most of them might seem inclusive, but then there's can be one bad apple to ruin the bunch to make it hard for people with intellectual disabilities because they think they know best about them, but they really don't know about their disability.
Mm-hmm. I felt that too while interviewing him. He really open my eyes to, inequality doesn't just only come from the outside world. It can show up in like organizations that are supposed to be in, disability related, or, friend groups, or even the workplace. So it was just a little eye-opening. He just, he did things about describing about favoritism and cliques and things in his previous organization. And I just really liked his insight of somebody who lived that experience and what he felt like should be, what could be done, basically.
I agree. That was very powerful
Mhm.
because even people with intellectual disabilities, we sometimes build cliques and friend groups like everyone else
Right.
because sometimes we're just gravitational towards more people, some people more than others. But at the same time, you should still give everyone a chance and be inclusive.
And even in his when he spoke about working and working at Publix, it just really let me know that it's not enough to just hire people with disabilities. We also need to train managers and adjust policies and put and really build a culture that understands how people respond when something goes wrong. Because sometimes you think that you're inclusive and then life happens, which it happens to everyone. And then everything just kind of goes down the drain. You don't know how to respond properly. You don't know how to take the proper measures. So I think it's a lot that just needs to go on than just hiring somebody. It's a lot of training that needs to happen as well.
I agree with that. And then taking it back to our first episode, we got to learn
Mhm.
a little bit about each other, which I thought was good because you and I, we have both personal experiences with this topic. That's why this topic means so much to our hearts.
Mhm. And I just love just hearing your journey. Like you telling me how you were nonverbal as a kid, and then, just looking at you now as a young adult, just public speaking and being able to go to Washington, D.C. and speak at Capitol Hill. I just thought that was just an awesome, like, 180 story. Also,
Thank you so much.
yes, and the fact that you are in athlete leadership and you were able to find your voice and find your love of public speaking, it just it was just I just great to hear. It just put a smile on my face.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it was nice to get to learn about your god brother.
Thank you. You also taught me that bullying might leave scars or deep wounds, but it doesn't get the final word. Like hearing how you persevered and basically proved everybody wrong and proved to yourself, eh, inspirational.
Thank you. Being bullied is very hard, and
Mhm.
some people don't realize they, even though the physical scars and all that may fade, it's the emotional scars that can be even deeper, even though there might not be any physical scars. So that I thought was pretty good. Now we're going to talk a little bit about what inclusion means to us. To me, inclusion means everyone has a place at the table. Everyone has a chance to express themselves and to give their opinions about what is right for them, not being sidelined, not being trapped in a box of expectations that society tends to put on us. Being able to break out of that and to really show people who you are, what you believe, and everyone deserves a chance to chase after their dreams.
Yep. I just want to do a little like a little reflection of what I learned about myself. Just completing these podcasts. I just know now that I can't control everything, but I can control whether I speak up when I see exclusion and be the voice. And maybe somebody can look at me as an example and do the same and teach others and so on. So that was one of the biggest lessons I learned. My ideal of inclusion, um, let's see. Before this podcast, I think my ideal of inclusion was a little bit more general. I thought just being kind and include everyone, but now it's deeper to me. It's more personal, it's more grounded. I think inclusion means looking at a person with an intellectual disability and not seeing a diagnosis first, but seeing a human being who has a story, a personality, dreams, humor, and even strengths. So that's what my my definition has evolved into. It's much deeper.
What do you hope the audience takes away from the podcast?
Uh, I hope they take away that you shouldn't be hard on yourself if you don't know things. Um, be kind, like you have to be kind to others, be kind to yourself first. And like I said, just go deeper. Go look at people's dreams and humors and strengths. Don't just look at them and put them in a box because they have a disability. What would you say you would like our listeners to take away from this podcast?
One of the biggest things is remember the box of expectations.
Mhm.
Everyone in society tends to put each other in a box. Like, we expect you to be this, 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 and this. And people with intellectual disabilities, or anyone else for that matter, is so much more than a box.
Yes.
We have
People with,
dreams,
yeah, of course.
we have desires, and we have goals, and we deserve to have an opportunity to showcase our abilities and basically just showcase who we are. And the biggest takeaway that I hope people will learn is to put people first and disability second, meaning they are just people at the end of the day. It's okay to include them and do not help them in daily tasks unless they ask you for help. And
Hmm.
just understand people with disabilities more. Like, and for people who have intellectual disabilities who are watching this, I hope that they will get some ideas of how to go forward and hopefully get the services that they need and deserve.
I agree. I think inclusion just means celebrating and not just tolerating differences. To me, people with intellectual disabilities bring creativity, joy, honesty, resilience. And I think that it's like the places like schools or workplaces, sports teams, and even the community, if they can see it like that, the society would just be better in the whole. They don't just deserve a seat, they deserve respect, they deserve leadership roles, and they deserve opportunities.
I agree. I really hope people understand that knowledge is power by the end of watching this. And after listening to this, they can make better choices for themselves, their families, if they have a relative with intellectual disabilities, or even if they have intellectual disabilities themselves, get access to the resources and understanding that they need to better their lives.
Yep. I mean, this podcast has truly changed the way I see disabilities, the way I just see people in general, and the way I see my own role, honestly, in reducing inequalities. So I just want to thank all our listeners for, caring And I thank you for believing we can build a better world where everybody, regardless of their, abilities, gets to belong and thrive.
I thank all of our listeners too for taking the time to listen to us and hopefully learn about what's available to them and
Mhm.
to really be accepting of people. And remember, always break out of the box of expectations.
And there you have it, folks. Okay, this is your host signing out, Mackenzie Lampkins.
And Sarah Parker, this is not just signing out, this is signing out for the last time.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.